Hello everybody, welcome to the stream. As always, I am Technomagus, and today we are going to be streaming a game called CrossCode. This is a game in early access. I actually came across this game randomly on Newgrounds, of all places, where they were just showing a tech demo, which is pretty much what I'm going to be playing through today. Though they ran an Indiegogo campaign to get funding to make this into a full game, which did succeed, though it almost didn't. But as a result, they are in development to fully flesh out the game and to expand upon what's already been shown off in the demo. Full disclosure, I did back the campaign. This is why the main reason why I have this early access is because I backed the campaign at a level that allowed me the full game when it released, as well as access to the beta to test the game as it goes through. I also did put in one of the last-minute donations that allowed me to name a minor character in the game. Basically, you'll see in the final version of the game, there'll be a place for the guild called the Last-Minute Heroes, where you'll see the name of an old character I created way back in the day appear. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So, as you may have seen, there were two control options. You can either use a controller, such as like an Xbox 360 controller or the wired controller that I use, or you can use mouse and keyboard. CrossCode is kind of like a twin-stick shooter in some of its control schemes. So the mouse and keyboard has certain advantages. Using a analog controller has its own advantages, and I'll go over them as we play through. But there are 3 demos available: story, puzzle, and exploration. Each one shows different aspects of the game. Story basically gives a brief overview and introduction to the story of the world. Puzzle is a little arena that you have to go through, solving switch puzzles to explore the area and then fight a boss at the end. And then the exploration is actually a more fully fleshed out game almost in and of itself. Definitely a lot longer than the other two. We're going to go ahead and do the story first. Basically get a taste of what's to come. So let's go ahead and get started. So, basically, this is the tutorial. Oop. That was a little unexpected. So, jumping in this game is automatic. There is no hard-coded jump button. And then the A button is to advance text. Left stick is to move. And then holding the left bumper and hitting... Alright, why aren't you working? Hang on. This is a little awkward. Alright, let me just double check. What is going on here? Alright, try this again. I am not sure... Whoa! Whoops! Alright, well, that was a little unexpected. Oh, this is why we have early access and beta testing. Alright. Let's try this again. Hopefully this time the controller decides to work. I'm not sure why it didn't. We already saw this. Skip the cutscene. There we go. Okay. So I have to hit it at the same time. That's why it wasn't working. Now the right bumper is the attack button. If you are in it, basically it's a normal melee attack, which can combo, and as you can imagine, the character that we have is vastly overpowered. This is... Actually, I'm not entirely sure where in the storyline this takes place. Okay, so what just happened there is there are 4 elements in the game. Cold, fire, energy, and I think wind is the last one. And you can switch between different elementals by using the D-pad. Up and down, switch between ice and fire. Left and right, switch between the other 2 elements. In the game just crashed. I'm not entirely sure why. I think it had something to do with messing with the settings. So I'll have to report that bug when I get the chance, but anyway. As I was saying, there are the elemental attacks. And the elemental attacks also give access to special moves, which are activated with the right trigger or R2 button. Now, as you might imagine, these are characters in a game, in a virtual game. They're not actually real humans. But that will be explained a little bit more later on. Alright, now that the cryptic opening has been completed, let's go ahead and get started on the actual story mode of the game. Once it loads. Alright, so this is the player character. This is where the twin-stick shooter part comes into play. Our character has the ability to fire spheres, just by using the right analog stick and the attack button to aim. Now, this is where the control scheme difference comes into play. If you are using a controller, in order to fire the spheres, you have to use the right analog stick along with the attack button. If you're using a mouse, the difference between melee and range is how far away from the character the mouse cursor is. So, an in-game reason for a silent protagonist. Now, as I mentioned, jumping is handled automatically by the game engine. So the goal here is to get to the end. The goal here is to get to the end, so as you can see, there's a little barrier here. And barriers are activated by switches. Now, of course, certain barriers, as you can see, the yellow barriers your sphere can pass through. Blue barriers it cannot. And then, of course, you've got, as you notice, you see the two crosshair, or the two lines that slowly line up as you aim. Basically, that is your firing radius. If you fire before it actually lines up, then your projectile can go anywhere across that line, or that firing radius. And then once it highlights in red, that means that you're firing a charge shot, which can bounce off walls and hits a lot harder. This one is just keep pounding it until the switch activates. You can also just hold the button. Well, not here, because it's this one you have to bounce off of. Hold on. There we go. You can just keep the button held down to keep firing, but it will just only fire short charges instead of large charges. And we get our first example of enemy encounters. As you can see, every time you kill one of them, a coin drops into that center little passage there, and it tells you how many enemies you have left to kill before it activates the switch for that. Of course, not all enemies are visible right away. Some of them are hidden. Nope, get back here. There we go. Basic tutorial level. Get you used to the game's mechanics. There we go. And of course, if you're ever stuck, you can go ahead and talk to Carla. Not absolutely necessary. Alright, so now we have the ability to dash. Honestly, you don't really need to worry about too much about these enemies. They are pretty basic. Oh. Took a hit I really didn't need to, but eh. So now we have physical attacks again. And, of course, don't be afraid to mix up physical and ranged attacks. This place is relatively straightforward. There really isn't any like side quests or anything you can do in that. That's mostly what the exploration mode is for. Alright, so at this point we have the most freedom we will be getting in the story mode. We can basically go just about wherever we want and talk to all the people. The Spheromancer that he mentions is one of the 5 classes available in CrossCode. You only ever play as Leia the Spheromancer, but the other 4 classes do show up over the course of the game, or at least once the game is fully fleshed out, they will. I think that's supposed to be try to recover, not receive. Well, I mean, it could also kind of be received, because it was basically be considered like a failed download. I don't know. Yeah, water is bad for avatars, because they're basically living electricity. Hey, we now have the ability to say hi. These two don't want to. These two don't want to talk. So let's go exploring a bit before we head over to the captain. And in case you're wondering, no, you can't jump into the sea. Well, how do you do too, jerk? Man, these people are just brutal. Let's see, anyone over here? Nope. Alright. Now. Alright, so these boxes here, basically beat them with your, break them with your normal attack. Now the ones with the metal on the sides, you can only hit them from the side that doesn't have the metal. As you can see, it does nothing from the back or the side, but from the front, it breaks easily. One disadvantage to auto-jumping is that it doesn't always take you where you want to go. There we go. So, as implied by the characters, the actual the actual weapons of the avatars can only be seen by the avatars and by people who wear those special goggles. I don't have anything important to say. What do you have to say for yourself? That looks very suspiciously like a Final Fantasy battle system. Interesting. Alright, well, let's go ahead and do our lesson. Alright, so now that we've learned the basics, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so as you can see, this is basically your first boss kind of thing. And you basically have to keep overheating its shield so that you can actually damage it. But once you get over halfway down, the battle gets interrupted. Alright, so let's go ahead and go inside. And we have a mysterious blue guy flying towards the ship at very high velocity. I don't think that's an appropriate response, Leia. Alright, now it's time for the first actual real boss battle. It's a giant enemy crab. Alright, so the boss has 3 life bars and 3 phases. And it also has a weak spot you can hit for massive damage. As you deal damage to it and knock it into different phases, you will recover some health. Also, you have dashes. Use them. And watch out for that little burst attack, because that can damage you. And the boss is down. That wasn't too bad. Now, the whole leveling thing will actually be expanded more on in the exploration mode. Or you can take a rocket launcher to the face. Alright. Yeah, it's very smooth. Okay, so we need to head down to the basement, which means we have to go back through the tutorial area. Only this time, he's not really going to let us go quietly. Now they're going to keep coming, keep chasing us, and they can and will kill you in no time flat, so don't dawdle, basically. But there are shortcuts that can be taken. Let's see. Ah, get out of my way! Ah! Whoa. There we go. Yeah, if you fall off, you have to go all the way back. You have to go around the normal way, where the robot can catch up to you and hurt you. And we're out. Alright, that was the story demo for CrossCode. So, the game is actually available on Early Access on Steam right now for $20 or whatever regional equivalent is. Or if you did happen to be one of the people who contributed during the campaign, then you should have received or if you donated a high enough tier, you should have received a code already through the main CrossCode website. Once the credits roll, I'll go ahead and go through the puzzle mode next, and then the exploration mode. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and take a quick break, and when I come back, we will head on into the puzzle mode. See you in a little bit.